All right, let's dive into the White Lotus, this HBO show. We're at that luxury resort in Hawaii. Gorgeous on the surface. But underneath, oh, things get messy.
Yeah, dark undercurrents for sure.
And that dead body they show right at the start kept me guessing the whole time. Did you find yourself rewatching, trying to figure out who it could be?
Totally. Such a good hook.
Yeah.
Every little interaction, every glance, you're like, wait, are they involved?
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, can anyone really be innocent in a place like this?
Right. It's like paradise is the backdrop, this stunning Hawaiian setting, but then you see the worst of human behavior.
Sure.
Our source material called it satire, which I think is spot on.
Definitely satire. And it works because they start with these characters who seem like almost like caricatures of the wealthy elite, like the Mossbacher family.
Oh, yeah.
Picture perfect, the affluent white family, right?
Yeah.
But then you start peeling back the layers,
Yeah.
and they're deeply flawed, not happy at all.
Yeah, like they're all putting on a show. Success, happiness, but underneath, simmering discontent. Like the father, Mark. He's waiting for medical results, worried about cancer, and it's almost like a midlife crisis on top of everything.
And how they portray his anxiety, right? Next to his wife, Nicole, who's so successful. She's the CEO, in control, and Mark feels emasculated, overshadowed by her. Makes you think, how much of this is about societal expectations for men?
Totally. Like he should be the breadwinner, the alpha, but in their dynamic, it's flipped. And their kids, Olivia and Quinn, are stuck in the middle of it.
Yeah, Olivia, the woke daughter. Always calling out her parents' privilege, but she benefits from it too.
Oh, for sure.
Her character really got to me because she's like a lot of young people today, from wealthy backgrounds, trying to be socially aware, but also, is it performative? How do you dismantle a system you're part of? The show doesn't give easy answers.
And then you have Quinn, the quiet son. At first, he seems totally tuned out on his devices all the time. But he has this transformation, one of the most interesting in the show. Did his story resonate with you at all?
Absolutely. He's almost the most honest one because he's not pretending to have it figured out, lost in the digital world, but then he disconnects and finds something real in nature, like a reminder the simple things can be the most profound.
Such a contrast to the resort, how artificial it all is, and the other guests, how superficial they are. Speaking of, we got to talk about Tanya.
Oh, yeah.
Wealthy, emotionally fragile. Jennifer Coolidge is brilliant. She's searching for meaning after her mother's death. Desperately.
Tanya's such a fascinating character to study. Vulnerable, obviously hurt, wants real connection, but she's totally clueless about power dynamics. Especially with Belinda, the spa manager.
Oh, that relationship was so cringy. Tanya latches onto Belinda, wants a friend. But it's all because Tanya's the wealthy guest and Belinda's the employee. Uncomfortable to watch.
For sure. And it points to something bigger the show explores. How relationships are transactional in these super wealthy spaces. Can you even have genuine connection when the power is so imbalanced?
And then we have another couple imploding, though very differently. Shane and Rachel, the honeymooners.
Oh, their storyline is like a train wreck. You can't look away. Shane is the definition of entitled, demanding wealth. Always complaining, fixated on tiny injustices. And Rachel's getting more and more disillusioned, but he doesn't see it.
Like he uses his privilege as a weapon to get what he wants. And Rachel, at first, she's drawn to the lifestyle. Luxury, no worries. But the more time passes, the more she sees Shane's money doesn't buy happiness or even basic respect.
It's sad watching her realize the fairy tale is a gilded cage. His money can't buy kindness or empathy or even listening to her.
And while this is all going on, we have Armin, the resort manager, trying to hold it all together. He's battling addiction, dealing with these demanding guests. He's barely hanging on.
Yeah, his character is tragic. Shows the dark side of service industry work. Forced to hide his feelings, be cheerful and subservient while he's falling apart inside.
And him with Shane, it's a ticking time bomb. Perfect example of the tension between those who serve and those who are served. Felt like any minute something was going to blow.
It's interesting, though, even while Armin's struggling, he kind of seems to enjoy the chaos. Like he's pushing Shane's buttons, trying to get some control back when he feels powerless.
Which brings us back to that question looming over everything.
Oh.
Who dies? And is it connected to Armin's downward spiral?
Could be. The show's so good at weaving that mystery into how the characters develop. Everything they do, every choice, you're like, wait, is this going to lead to the death?
So as we go deeper into these characters, their motivations, let's keep that mystery in mind. Because in The White Lotus, even tiny details could be the key to the truth.
It's wild how they use Hawaii, right? This gorgeous setting.
Yeah.
But it's like the characters are falling apart against this backdrop of paradise.
Totally. It emphasizes how messed up they are internally. And speaking of messed up, back to the Mossbackers. Their family is so dysfunctional.
But relatable in a way.
Yeah, even if their problems are kind of out of touch.
Right. Like Mark, health crisis, feeling emasculated. It's almost like the classic story of a guy who can't find his place in the world anymore. All
Oh,
this anxiety. When he tries to assert himself, it comes off all wrong.
you feel for him, though. A little, even when he makes bad choices. Especially after that reveal about his dad. Finding out his father was gay, that really shakes Mark up.
Oh yeah, like he's confronting a part of himself he buried. Makes you think, how much of it is internalized homophobia, even if he doesn't realize it?
Right. And then there's Nicole, so successful, driven, but cold, detached from her family's feelings. Is she shutting them out on purpose, or is she just not capable of connecting?
It's hard to say. That's what makes her interesting. She's not just a villain. She's got her own stuff going on, insecurities. What's it like to be a powerful woman? You see glimpses of vulnerability, but then it's back to that facade of control.
And Olivia and Quinn trying to figure themselves out within all this dysfunction. Olivia, with her woke stuff, she's such a perfect example of the hypocrisy the show is making fun of.
Totally. Calls out her parents, but she's blind to her own privilege. Like she's using social awareness as a way to not deal with it. And it's not just her. You see that everywhere, right? Performative activism that just keeps the system going.
Yeah, the show asks, can you really change things from within a system that benefits from inequality? And then there's Quinn, who goes the opposite way, tunes everything out, literally and figuratively, gets lost in technology.
But through that disconnection, he finds a connection to something bigger.
Right.
It's a reminder that sometimes you got to step away from everything to find yourself. Nature, simplicity, total contrast to the other guests and their materialism.
Yeah.
He finds peace in stuff money can't buy.
Makes you reevaluate your priorities, for sure. Now, on the other end, you've got Tanya. She's got all this wealth, but she's so lonely, grasping for connection.
Yeah. And with Belinda, it shows how much she wants something real, but she doesn't see how unequal their relationship is. Thinks money can buy happiness, buy genuine connection.
It's hard to watch Belinda deal with that.
Right, Belinda's kind, sees Tanya's hurting, but she's being used. That whole emotional labor thing expected from people in service jobs.
The show really highlights how hard it is to have empathy across class lines. Tanya wants to connect, but only on her terms. Doesn't see the power she has.
And that happens all the time, not just on the show.
Ah.
Good intentions aren't enough. For real connection, you got to see the other person as an equal. Listen, understand their life.
Which brings us to another couple where power is all out of whack. Shane and Rachel. Honeymoon from hell as Shane's entitlement clashes with Rachel's, growing disappointment.
Shane, oh my God. Textbook toxic masculinity, right? Complaining, demanding, can't see how Rachel feels at all. Like the poster boy for white male privilege. Gets his way or throws a fit.
Like he's never been told no in his life. Infuriating, but also kind of sad.
Yeah, he represents a whole type of guy. Thinks the world owes him something. And the worst part is, he's clueless how he hurts people. Especially Rachel.
At first, she's into the money, the lifestyle. But the more she's with him, the more she realizes it's fake. Luxury can't hide how empty their relationship is.
You just hope she gets out before it's too late. But with that death hanging over everyone,
Yeah.
makes you think, could Shane's actions be tied to it?
Mm-hmm.
Or Mark's desperation? Or Tanya being so self-absorbed?
Or Armand, right, spiraling downwards. Things with him and Shane are so tense.
It's like the show is slowly building up to something. As we get to the last part of our deep dive, we got to see how it all comes together. It's got to be explosive.
It's kind of amazing how the White Lotus can be so funny, but also so heartbreaking. Like 1 minute you're laughing, the next you're like, oh, damn.
It's the tone, right? They get it just right.
Yeah.
And it's got to be tough to do. Mike White, who wrote and directed it, he's not afraid to show how ugly people can be.
Mm.
But he also finds these moments of, I don't know, grace, even in the middle of all the mess.
And the acting is incredible.
Oh, yeah, everyone brings their A game.
Yeah.
You forget you're watching actors.
Right.
Jennifer Coolidge as Tanya, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
And Burry Bartlett, who plays Armand. So layered. You see the
Yeah.
charm, but also the desperation.
All the performances were great, but Alexandra Daddario as Rachel, man, she got to me.
Yeah, her.
The way she shows that slow realization, I made a huge mistake. So painful to watch.
Yeah, it sticks with you.
Yeah.
That's what the show does well. Taps into those universal feelings, heartbreak, regret. Okay, without spoilers, let's talk about that ending. Not what I expected at all,
Oh, the ending.
but it fits the whole vibe of the show. Did you like it? Did it feel satisfying?
Satisfying isn't the word I'd use, more like impactful. It's not a neat ending the way the mystery plays out, but it makes you think about the consequences for these characters. There's justice, but not the clean kind.
Right. And it's ambiguous, leaves you wondering, what happens to them after they leave the resort? How did this experience change them? Did anyone actually learn anything?
It's almost like the show is saying, some people, they never change. They're so stuck in their privilege, their entitlement. It's who they are.
Yeah, kind of bleak when you think about it, but also rings true.
The White Lotus doesn't give easy answers, and that's what makes it good. It challenges you to think about class, privilege, all that. And it stays with you.
Definitely. If you haven't seen it, add it to your list. A Trip to Paradise Lost and the story. You won't forget it.
Makes you laugh, makes you cringe, makes you really think about the world, you know?
Yeah, and ourselves in it.
So, wrapping up our deep dive into the White Lotus, what's the biggest thing you took away from it? What really hit home for you?
Honestly, how unflinchingly it looks at human nature. Our desires, flaws, how we can be good and be bad. Anyone can screw up, and our actions, they affect more than just ourselves.
Couldn't have said it better myself. This show, it's a whole experience. And on that note, this is the end of our deep dive. Hope you enjoyed it. Keep those conversations going. Until next time, keep diving.